brothers and sisters. My name is Felix Bethell. I'm an associate professor in the College of Bahamas and a member of the Bahamas-Cuba Friendship Society. My concern and that of my fellow Bahamians is for the freedom of Gerardo Nordelo, Ramon Salazar, Antonio Rodriguez, Fernando Gonzalez Lord, Rene Gonzalez, known as the Cuban Five. They've been locked up in the United States unjustly for the last 11 years. We are calling on the President of the United States of America, Barack Hussein Obama, to do what he can and should to see to it that these men are pardoned. He has it in his power, and we are calling upon him to right an injustice. That injustice is recognized by people around the world, not only in the United States, but in Western Europe, Asia, Africa. People worldwide know that this is an injustice. We here in the Bahamas join with those people in calling for the freedom of the Cuban Five.
My name is Alex Morley. I am an attorney and a journalist in the Bahamas, and I am also a student of Pan-Africanism, and I am also a member of the Bahamian Friends of the Cuban Five here in Nassau, Bahamas. I have been a part of the Cuban Five, Bahamian Friends of the Cuban Five since 2007. I believe that it is important for other young people in the Bahamas to inform themselves about this issue, because it's very important for young people to define terms for ourselves. In the world right now, we're dealing with the so-called war on terrorism. There's terrorism that has happened historically in the Caribbean that is not being recognized, that is not being talked about. In October 1976, a plane was blown up off the coast of Barbados. This plane had 73 persons who were passengers on that plane, and some of those persons were Cubans, young Cubans. They were just returning here home from actually winning a medal. These are people that we should feel compassion for. These are stories that we should tell. These are dates and events that we should commemorate, because they are historical events that have happened in the Caribbean and historical things that have happened to Caribbean people. But yet, right now, we are being told to commemorate other events. Take, for example, September 11th. We believe as young people, we just need to define these things for ourselves. You know, and the Cuban Five is an issue like that I believe is important to all young people. So that's why I am a member of the Cuban Five, the Bahamas Friends of the Cuban Five in the Bahamas.
My name is Lionel Carey. I am the co-chairman of the organization for the Cuban Five, and we are very concerned that the Bahamas has been used over the years for terrorist acts against Cuba, and it is wrong, and we believe that we have a moral obligation to speak out against this kind of terrorism, because it is wrong. The Cuban Five, as you know, were people who were forced to, after hundreds or thousands of people died in these terrorist acts against Cuba, were forced to look into the matter because after constant complaining about these issues over the years, the American authorities did not respond to it. They allowed this kind of terrorism to go on And the Cubans, as a result of the amount of lives lost and this kind of thing, were forced to take the matter further. And so we are making this appeal to the world against the injustice that has been meted out to the Cuban Five in America. It is wrong, and as Bahamians, we join the world community in condemning this act.
The sheerest hypocrisy is the fact that Luis Posada Carriles, responsible for the deaths of the people that Alex mentioned, is a man who is now living out his last days in Miami, Florida. It is wrong, it is unjust, it is hypocritical, and we know that the American people who are at the heart, people who are for dignity and who are for freedom and who are for justice, really, if they knew the story, cry out for Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, to use his executive power and to free the Cuban Five.
For persons who want to stay informed about any of the work that's being done by the Bahamian Friends of the Cuban Five, they can always go online and Google, and we have a blog. It's called the Bahamas Friends of the Cuban Five. So that's how you can stay up to date in all the things that we are doing.